Okay,
and can you bring the agenda back up?
Yep. Okay, we are now recording the meeting, and here is our agenda, and our chairperson is Jeff Trapp.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for being here today. It's been a while since we've gotten together, so I know we've got a few things to go over. So to begin with, any membership updates, Jenny?
No, we've not had any folks leave the committee and no new folks joining.
So Jane, do you know if Samaritan is planning on replacing Rick Roten since he's over in the Valley now?
And Jeff, just to correct that, the actual representative for this committee is Dr. Ogden. The other Samaritan folks are just a guess.
Okay. All right then. So we had no minutes to approve or review as far as I remember. Is that correct, Jenny?
So the last meeting in August, at the time that the meeting started, there was not enough members to warrant reviewing the minutes, so it was deferred. Eventually, by the end of the meeting, we did have enough people. We didn't circle back. So today we have the February and the August minutes. However, no one received this packet in advance. My apologies. I just finished everything. So we could take the time to review them. They are in the email copy that I sent everyone, or I could go page by page. I do have two sections on the August minutes. Another apology, we had the recorded video recording of the meeting, but GoToMeeting deleted my entire account and all of our meetings that we had set up and all of our recorded stuff. So that did not get posted to the website. So if you will let me scroll down to the August minutes, I have two things I need clarification on, which are going to be more related to Jeff from PacWest. Hold on a second. And then my recommendation would be that everybody gets time to review the minutes. And then, so this one here, Jeff, I had a question. I know I texted you. You asked for a discussion item on the request for interfacility hospital transports. And if you could just refresh my memory, and I'm going to bring it up on another page over here to make those changes.
Does this have to do with the ASA plan, the one that's in process? Because that's the only thing I can think of. At some point, the county commissioners gave Samaritan and Dr. Ogden a letter saying, do what you have to do to do your interfacility transports. I think I was just addressing the fact that we have no intent on pursuing a first right of refusal. So that can just be taken out of the plan altogether. So that's the only thing I recall regarding interfacility hospital transports.
Okay. Did not have any intent Okay, so I'm going to fix that, and then I'll send these back out, and then that will actually play into an update that we have from the Board of Commissioners on something else. And then the other one that I had that was in there, I think I did figure that one out. I think that was the last of what I had. Oh, I know what it was. It was this one here. Sorry, everybody. I'm short-staffed, but I'm only going to use that as an excuse once. It was the ASA compliance. So when you review this, Jeff, PacWest, make sure that this section here, ASA compliance reporting, that this is really an accurate description of the intended conversation. I think it's kind of a reoccurring discussion, but anyways, those are the two things that I need to correct or amend to make them final minutes, and then I can email both sets of minutes out to everyone. And perhaps, chairperson, if you are fine with it, we could just do an electronic vote. If there are no issues with the minutes, we could do an electronic vote of the minutes, give a week for everybody to review them, and then I could lodge that information with these minutes.
Let's do that. So let's just let everybody know what they need to do to vote electronically on the review and approval of those two sets of minutes.
Okay. And if there's anything anybody has right now, please bring it to my attention and I can get it fixed before I send these back out to everybody. Okay, then let me get you back to your agenda, Chairperson. Just a second. Let me just go up. Okay, here we go. Okay, so that'll take care of both of those sets of minutes. And now you're on number 3.
All right, any additions to the agenda?
Jeff from PWA, the only thing I would like to ask, and I don't know if it needs to be added to the agenda or for somewhere else in the agenda, I can ask this. Our legal department, myself, are looking at the response time map versus the definition of the zones. And we're both curious of what ASA plan we're currently operating on. Is it the one that has been submitted to OHA but not fully approved yet? Or is it the ASA plan that's been in place for the last umpteen years?
Okay, have we had a response from County Counsel's office on that, Jenny?
So that question did not go through me. It would have gone directly from Jeff to legal counsel. Is that my correct understanding that you have been in conversation directly with legal counsel, Jeff from PWA?
Unfortunately, no. I wasn't sure if somebody here in the group already knew that answer or not, but I will move it forward through Kristen Yule.
And what I can do is I can just send a follow-up email message that this was a conversation that took place at the meeting and then copy in you and copy in the chairperson. But I think you would be better served to push that question directly to legal counsel as you are an actual contract holder.
Right. Okay. I'll do that.
Okay. But I'll add it down as a discussion item actually under the BOC communications where we have the ASA plan update because they all tie together.
Sounds perfect.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Any other additions to the agenda? All right, moving on. Our quarterly ASA reports, provider concerns, recommendations for service.
So I have listed the 2 concerns that we did have. I would like to just note that Pacific West Ambulance did respond pretty quickly on those. The first one came on August 19th, was from Newport Fire. The concern was regarding the required response time, which would be required 8 minutes. Actual response time was 29 minutes. In the email copy that you were sent, I've put all of the information in there so you can review it in its entirety. And then I'm going to move down to what Jeff responded. The other one was on August 23rd that came in by Depot Bay Fire for similar response. Chief Daniels is here today, so let's look at the Newport Fire one first, and then we can look at the Depot Bay Fire one, and we do have a response from Jeff on both of those. So Jeff, I don't know, PWA Jeff, I don't know if you would like to just comment on this one yourself. And this is the, let me just verify I got them in the right order. Yeah, let's see. This is the Newport Fire one.
Yeah, the email is pretty self-explanatory, so I'd be more than happy to try to answer any questions someone may have.
So one question, and I appreciate, Newport Fire saying, hey, might have been an issue here, but PWA Jeff, the way your agreement with the county is written, do you look at individual incident response times or the aggregates? For example, are you required to provide that time on a certain percentage of incidents? Because I find it interesting that we're picking out individual incidents for having response time problems when that's not how your measurement really is legally out there.
So my understanding is we're measured on a quarterly basis to meet the response time zones times 90% of the time. So, and I am more than happy to answer these individually. I definitely don't have an issue with that. But to answer the question, quarterly, 90% of the time based on the zone's response time. And again, I still question the definition of the ASA plan not matching the ASA time map. That, well, I'll discuss that when I guess we get down to it.
Okay, thank you. If there's no other questions, can we move on to the other one, Jenny?
Yeah. Okay, this one, this is a follow-up. Let me get down to Depot Bay. So this is Jeff's response. It may be better if we scroll down to start with what the concern was. And Chief Daniels, you're on the line. Would it be better if you just talk about your concern and then your response?
Sure, I don't mind at all. I'll pull up the email I sent you a little bit ago to talk about this. Let's see.
I do have that email, so let me bring that up on the screen.
Okay, thanks.
There's Chief Daniels' response.
So again, not trying to pick a fight here, but you know, I think Jeff's response to me, PWA Jeff's response was that the mutual aid system worked. And as I highlight in this email, is it only worked because we made it happen. Now, there could have been a gap there where it couldn't have happened, or that we just dealt with a 50-minute response time. But as I indicate in my email, I take exception if the fire districts are going to be responsible to initiate PWA's mutual aid system or their plan. So it's happened more than once where we have to get on the radio and request an alternative ambulance based on the response delays. So what I wanted to know was who's supposed to initiate the mutual aid request? What are the trigger points? Who's penalized for the call? As an example, I can't imagine it's North Lincoln Fire and Rescue. Does this just fall off one of those lists because PWA shifts it to North Lincoln Fire and then it just falls off the list? And then how do we mitigate it? North Lincoln Fire had a 12-minute shoot time. They had to drive an engine to another station, put their staff on an ambulance, drive that ambulance to Depot Bay, and it still took them a half an hour to get to her, or 26 minutes to get to the scene. So the shortage affects everybody. Both ambulance companies, PWA and AMR, said July 1, they meet the conditions of the contract. I'm already gearing up for a response to you, Jeff, as far as what you're going to try and redefine as a rural zone versus an urban zone. You bid to the contract with those conditions. I think the expectation from the public is that you provide those services. You don't get to change definitions after you sign the forms. You know, we're taking an engine out of service every time we have one of these delays. We're doubling up on calls. We're the little guy in the north end. Newport and North Lincoln Fire are running their butts off, and they're tied up, and they're tying up their personnel and resources on scene, and it's not getting any easier. So I want to know how we're going to manage this, and what the ASRC is going to do to head this off or report this.
So Chief Daniels, Jeff from PWA, I guess I'll just try to answer the questions that I can, and everything else will just have to be further discussion because I don't have all the answers for you at this time. So who initiates the mutual aid request? Who is supposed to? Yeah, I don't know if we have that necessarily defined, but generally PWA will initiate the mutual aid request. I'd have to go back through and listen to radio tapes to see if we even had an opportunity to request mutual aid. I know your engine a couple times been pretty quick to the gun for that. So again, I'd have to go back and do a little research on that. What are the trigger points? Generally, it's discretion. If your crews get on scene, you hear the ambulance is coming for, let's say, Waldport, it's not unreasonable for you to request Depot or North Lincoln Fire, or we would request it, which we've done a few times. Who's penalized for the call? My understanding, PWA is, it counts as a long response. I can't speak on North Lincoln Fire's behalf on this. How do we mitigate the shoot time? Again, I can't speak on North Lincoln Fire and Rescue's response to that, nor the response time that they took to the scene. You know, I don't know what else to say. You know, this is an EMS system problem nationwide. Again, just like Newport Fire, for example, short-staffed. Everybody's short-staffed. we're working on resolving our issue. We're working on getting our response times back up, which there have been improvements on that, including in your zone there, Chief. Yeah, we're doing the best we can with what we have. We're starting next week. We have a full 5 cars on from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., 4 anytime after that. And by the end of the year, we'll have 6 cars on during the day. The 6 cars will happen between 11 a.m. and 11 p.m. There'll be 5 on from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. and then 4 from 11 p.m. till 8 a.m. So we're working on it. This isn't specific to PWA. Again, this is every ambulance company. And you bring up AMR. AMR is having the same exact problems in Multnomah County, rural metro, or I'm sorry, not rural met. Yeah, or Falk Ambulance is pulling out of the state of Washington because they're having such staffing issues and reimbursement issues and stuff. So the EMS system is broke right now, and everybody's doing their best to try to fix and do what we can to provide the service that the citizens do deserve.
Okay, thank you, both of you. Is there any other comments or questions?
I appreciate those comments, Jeff. I'm quick to praise your crews. This isn't a personal thing. This is about the performance standards and some of the areas that we're suffering on. I do realize that it's a nationwide issue. And I don't have the solution, but I'm also not the guy who bid to the contract. And so, we are all in this together. I get that. It's just, there's a tipping point, and I think it's going to come for us later than everybody else. And I just want to know how we head this off.
I agree, Chief. I definitely, if I'm coming across as I'm taking this personal, with you, it's not personal. As a broken EMS system, I do take that personally. Been in the system 20 plus years. So I'm very sad to see that this system is broken, not just with PWA, but just as an EMS system as a whole. I sure wish I had the answer. I would more than happy to fix it if I could. Yeah, right now we're ramping up our hiring for the paramedics that we can find. So far, I have committed people that aren't threatening to leave because they're burned out, and I'm grateful for that because a lot of other systems out there are. Paramedics are just retiring; they're getting out of the system. A lot of systems now are going to BLS cars, and that's all they have to service their community. So I'm grateful for what I do have. I'm grateful for even the complaints that I've received, because at least I get an opportunity to address it and look at it maybe in a different way to try to fix it. So.
Narrative, like if I'll see right now. Yeah. Chairman Trapp, this is Rob Dahlman. Can I get a chance to weigh in here a little bit?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So I'll kind of go down, Brian, your list of stuff. Who initiates mutual aid requests, or who's supposed to? I think, and then that kind of is your second one there is trigger points on call. So I think it's important that when an ambulance is delayed in the system, that that the first response or fire agencies are notified of that. And how do we do that? Well, we have to come up with some sort of a protocol or something for dispatch to follow. And we can say, we can easily put things in there such as, if it's more than 1 ASA away, or if it's more than 30 minutes away, or however we do that. And if that does initiate some sort of a trigger point for mutual aid, and that can be for different things. That can be for response time. It can be for a multiple patient scene. Let's say we go out Highway 18 and I've got 5 patients. At what point, who requests Grand Ronde or Southwest Polk or Sheridan or something like that? Are we waiting until fire gets on scene and are we supposed to do it, or is the ambulance provider, is that what they're supposed to do? So those things need to be worked out. And I don't think it's too big of a lift to do that. You talk about who's penalized for the call, and this one is an example. So in the current ASA plan that they're working under, response times are the responsibility of the ASA provider. And if that call is given to another person or another entity to handle that call, it doesn't exempt the ASA provider from that response time. So it doesn't fall off the radar. It's not a don't ask, don't tell. It goes against, if it reaches that 12 or 20 minute response time, it goes against Pacific West Ambulance. And then an out the chute time for North Lincoln as a backup. Our ambulance is not at a staffed station. So we have a protocol in place here to put that ambulance on the road. And until we either have that ambulance at a staff station, that doesn't mean the engine's going to be there to staff it. It's not a staffed unit. So I don't think there's any way to really mitigate that at all. We've looked at a few things internally about when we go pick up that unit, if I have to dump an engine to drive that or staff that. Depending upon the call type, I think that the officer should look at, is this a code 3 response to another station to get off a vehicle and go on to another one? Or is this they can't meet there, or they can't get an ambulance there, we need one there, and it would look like, a priority 2, 3, or 4 type of call. So I give our officers the ability to make that decision. So does that help answer a few of your questions, Brian, and Jeff also?
Yeah, for me, absolutely does, Chief. Thank you. As far as the mutual aid request, what I'm referring to is essentially, at time of dispatch, we don't have all the information. And if WVCC knows they're at, let's say, level 1 and their closest resources in Waldport, is there a mechanism for them to automatically, as a trigger point, tap out a North Lincoln Fire ambulance so we can get ahead of it? Is there something like that built in? Do you get advised when we're at level 0, and does Jeff then call to say, hey, staff up your ambulance, and then how long are you committed to that for? And there's a lot of variables here. I don't understand how it all works yet, because it all seems to be very dynamic.
We tried to, and we did with Pacific West, is look at, because we used to get called to basically to staff our vehicle when they were down to level 0, level 1 type of situation, and it was putting a burden on our volunteers and on our paid staff to move up there and just sit there. So we looked at, if it's for more than a half an hour, that they would be at level 1 or 0, then we would go ahead and do that. The other thing that also happens is either the supervisor or Jeff usually calls our on-duty supervisor or me and just says, hey, we're having a staffing issue for a little while. Can you staff up? Do you have the bandwidth to do that? So we do have those requests that come through. Like I said, I think we can build something in that talks about trigger points and when those things might happen, so that everybody's kind of aware of what's going on. And I think that we can look at notification of response agencies, and not just yours and mine, but anywhere in the county, that your ambulance is this far out. And I know that Pacific West is pretty good of telling dispatch how far out they are on different calls when they're an extended time frame away, so that everybody knows. But it has to be one of those things that dispatch parrots back to our responders on the right channel.
Yeah, and I'm hoping with the new CAD system, there'll be some EVL data that comes in to kind of show that, quantify, what crews are saying from the field. So I think it sounds like to me that we need to work on almost an automatic aid plan between PWA and the fire agencies, excuse me, that do transport, particularly you, of what that trigger point is. And so I know it's going to be a work in progress. I just wanted to know if there was anything that already drives that. It doesn't sound like there really is, but it sounds like there's also some work to do.
Yeah, but then there's also, just not within our county, but if you have something way out Highway 20 that needs a mutual response from Corvallis Fire for EMS. I mean, who initiates that when we get to, you know, hey, we've counted X number of patients, we need more help. Do we ask the ambulance, hey, do you want these other people done? Those should be automatic aid agreements that we've had difficulty with, even on the fire side of structure fires and water rescue calls, and even getting those initiated. And now we're looking at expanding that. I think we're biting off more than we can chew in certain areas.
Well, and you have to take a step back and realize that every other dispatch agency in like the United States or the big ones are able to make this work. And why is it so hard? Why is it when you call dispatch and you say, I need 2 more engines, they come back with, well, who do you want me to send? Or they ask, we're at level 0. Do you want me to start an ambulance from Philomath or Corvallis? They know the answer is going to be yes. We still need that resource. Why are you asking me? Why are we the ones making the decisions when the dispatch center is the logistics ordering point for an incident?
I don't disagree with you at all. But we need to tell them what we want before they're going to do that kind of thing for us. Well,
yeah, we don't need to get in the weeds. I think we're on the same page. We just maybe need to have a conversation offline and work on this. But I do appreciate your answers.
And I like comparing us to the rest of the United States too. I think that makes me happy. So.
Okay, any other comments or questions regarding those 2 incidents and the reports?
Chairman Trapp, if I can jump in, I just wanted a few clarifying points as the outsider on this. The first is, do we receive or track any sort of reporting for when these low levels occur or when these requests are made?
So I think, Cody, I believe what you're asking is, let me see if I can rephrase this. Is the ASRC council aware of when mutual aid is requested when the ASA provider is under their threshold for the number of ambulances that they're supposed to be able to provide in a certain number of minutes?
Correct. And an example where we have, you said it better, Jenny, yes.
So let me, as we move down into the agenda, that ASA compliance reporting, that is the report that we get from WVCC dispatch for the 2 ASA providers, and that shows their compliance. There is a much lengthier Excel file that has every single call that they have that falls out of that threshold, and those automatically get sent to the subcommittee, which is, I think, currently the 3 fire chiefs and the 2 ASA providers, and the chairperson get those, and then they review those in detail, and then that's what we're going to be reviewing on item D as part of the agenda.
Yeah, and I remember this report. Is this explicitly tracking, though, when one of the departments is requesting a mutual aid or when? Okay.
Nope, because there's not a responsibility for the ASRC to monitor or track when they request mutual aid. There's only a requirement to track if they were not in compliance.
Thank you. And then one other qualifying or follow-up question for that is, I've heard Jeff's at PWA speak before that they have the ability, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, to see the location of each of their ambulances. Are we able, or is that something that I caught was in the works to integrate this with WVCC?
So yes, we have the ability. So since we followed the new ASA plan and made sure we had MDTs installed in all of our ambulances, we removed our device that we normally would have tracked our ambulances with to replace it with this system. The AVL system in the current CAD system is not as robust as I envisioned it. So it's very hit and miss for us to be able to geographically see where the ambulance is at. My understanding with the new CAD update that's coming out, or the new CAD product coming out, it's supposed to have a lot more robust AVL capabilities. The issue we've run into is just the we solved our issue with interfacing with our modems in the truck to the tablets in our vehicles and sending that data to WVCC's AVL server.
Mhm.
We've just had some issues, and I don't know whose end it is on yet, but we're still working on trying to make sure that that AVL is working consistently for us. But at this time, and I really don't know why yet, it's not 100% consistent for us.
When is that CAD rollout, that new update?
So my understanding is 1st of January, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Chief Daniel, is that correct?
I can't speak to that, on concrete. Tom, Chief Jackson, new CAD system,
I missed that question. Sorry. Try again.
new rollout of the new CAD system.
I believe it's supposed to be October-ish of next year. Ian should be on the line, but I believe it's like right around October.
Okay, isn't there a test phase coming out here pretty quick?
Yeah,
I don't
they're
necessarily have a specific date. I'm just wondering, like at our next meeting or 2 meetings from now, if we can circle back and see how that integration. I'm sure that'll be a meeting minute, but yeah, that's fine.
Okay, thanks, Cody.
You saw the
And
chat
you-
from Ian. Give Ian a second here. He can address that. He's got a technical issue.
And Ian, if you can hear us, you could probably just type your response in the chat.
Okay, why don't we circle back to Ian if he gets everything up and running, and go ahead and move forward down to the ASA plan update.
Yep. So Chairperson, I hate to be the,
No, go
anyways.
ahead.
So I am sort of legally required to get a response from the ASRC regarding these two concern items. So for your response, do we want to list it that they were reviewed, no action this time, they were reviewed, and we're going to follow up separately, that you're going to require additional feedback? What would be the status of our review?
I think these are personally, I think these are ongoing discussions. So I would recommend to the group that we've reviewed them and we'll be monitoring them into the future and working with the ASA provider to resolve these issues moving forward.
And do you want to look at these two items again on the next agenda?
Let's go ahead and put them on the next agenda. I think we were put the questions to remain from those, and some of that's going to be based on
Okay,
plan review and getting the plan approved by
great.
both the answer from county council, what we're using for standards, and final approval out of OHA.
Okay, great, because I just have to actually list what our response is. Okay, thank you for that. And so if we're good, Chairperson, I can bring up the next item under the Board of Commissioners.
Okay.
Jenny, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. Oh, you there, Ian?
Yeah, I'm here, but you go ahead and we can jump back to that one if you want.
No, please finish.
Let's finish that up as long as we're still there. Go ahead.
Okay, so you want me to go then?
Yes, please.
Okay, can everybody hear me okay? I'll talk loud enough. I know I have some sound issues from the valley here sometimes. So can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, so at this point, the new CAD system, we started configuring last 6, 7, hold on. First, second, third. We have another configuration in December, another configuration in January that will include mobile for either fire or law, and February that will include fire and law. So our projected cut right now is sometime at the end of May of next year, and we have our project manager here working on it, helping us configure stuff that we haven't got. We're putting in PWA stuff today and yesterday and Falk stuff. So we are configuring Tyler is the CAD vendor, and their cut is basically, we cut in May, and if we don't make May, then it's, unless we're going to pay some fees, it's probably going to be August of 24, and we don't want that. So, especially since our current product is ending support rapidly, and November 1st of 23 we'll have 0 support, and we don't want to do that because that just is very risky for us. So we're really going to be pushing for a May cut. I will say you guys discussed AVL. There will be 2 pieces. Yes, it will track AVL. That's one piece of it, and it's a lot easier for us to be able to pull that data than it is in the current system. The other side of that is AVL on recommendation-based AVL. So that means that you could pick the closest unit by their AVL status. That is a lot more involved as far as the mapping. I know Salem right now and surrounding a little bit, Marion County maybe, but Salem right now is really pushing for that. You will have the ability to not do AVL dispatching if you don't have the mapping, because it basically takes into account, from my understanding, like street speed limits, one-way streets, bridges, things like that. So if you have like a ladder truck that can't go over a bridge, it's going to be able to reroute you a different path. That's why that's taking so much detail. I don't know if Lincoln County GIS is to that point, but I did want to mention those 2 different AVL pieces. Yes, the tracking of AVL units and everything will be in CAD and be able to do that versus the recommendation-based AVL. So hopefully that answered the question.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Or does that answer a question on the CAD rollout?
Yes, thank
Okay,
you, Ann.
Okay, let's go ahead and move forward to the ASA plan update.
Okay, I'll just take this one here. So at our last meeting in August, we were waiting for OHA to give us our review or findings of our submitted draft new ASA plan. They, like most other agencies, had been short-staffed, and it took quite a while for them to actually do that. They sent us their response directly after our August meeting, and as was directed by this committee, the work group convened. Very proud of them. They convened right away on August 17th. It was Tom Jackson, Chief Dahlman, Jeff from PWA, and myself. And I believe that South Lincoln Ambulance was invited, and I can't honestly remember if they were able to be there, but I think we followed up. Yes, I followed up with Chief Petrick about those changes. Anyways, the group met. We went through the document of everything that the state outlined, and just bear with me here. I'm going to scroll down to those pages, which will be starting at about page 17. We made all the changes. They really weren't that significant from the state. Some of them were kind of like, really? That's what you want? Fine. Okay. So we did that. And then there were a couple that were just a little bit more significant. So this is the response that we gave back to the Board of Commissioners on August 22nd. I forwarded that to legal counsel and to our new county administrator, Tim Johnson, on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, and legal counsel would normally have to review those changes. We didn't receive a response back, and I just followed up with them this week. And then legal counsel, county counsel replied back, and I have it there at the top of your agenda. County counsel, their only response that we received was to remove section 5.2. The county does not regulate non-emergency transports. However, and then it said we could send it back through the Board of Commissioners on the consent agenda. However, looking into that further in preparation of your packet, I think we have a little bit of an issue, which I'm going to bring this up. So stand by. Let me move this to one page. Hold on, everybody. My other thing is in my way. Okay, let me get this on one page. Stand by. And let me make it big enough you can actually read it. So these are the regulations set forth by the Oregon Health Authority, and I've highlighted this in yellow. Under elements 333, 260, 0050, we are required to have in our written plan that prearranged non-emergency transfers and inter-facility transfers. So I think what OHA is saying, you have to address it. I don't think they care so much that we regulate or whatever, because we've not changed anything here in Lincoln County, but it has to be in the written plan. And I just want to double check. I don't see county council is on the call today, or someone from admin, maybe Brian Gardner. Nope, I don't see anyone. So I think what we have to do now is, one, I need a decision from this group about the changes, because now we have to make a recommendation back to legal counsel. And my recommendation would be, I'm going to bring up the current plan. So stand by, everybody. Thanks for your patience. Okay. So here is 5.2 as referenced by county council that said to remove this section. And we've had, we put a note to county legal counsel, please review and determine if BOC would like to add any additional responsibilities to this section. And they said we could remove it, but now that we've looked at the OHA guidelines, we clearly can't remove it. So my recommendation is that we reword this. And I was just reading it while we were on another discussion item, that I think we just need to put in here a statement that the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners does not regulate the prearranged non-emergency and interfacility transfers. And Jeff from PWA had already contacted me about this issue, that they were comfortable with removing their first right of refusal to just make everything more simplified. And if I'm going from memory, I think this might also help with Samaritan with their interfacility transfers, of not having to contact the ASA provider for that zone, that they could just go straight to it. And I think that would clarify everything. If I'm not interpreting this the right way, please, someone feel free to speak up.
Jenny, Rob here. So basically, I think go back to the language from the previous one that just basically says that the Lincoln County reserves the right to regulate prearranged and non-emergency interfacility transfers, but at this time we're not going to do it. I think that's kind of what it said in the old one. I was trying to pull up the old plan and get exactly the words on it, but I'm sure you got access to that.
Yeah.
As Jeff from PWA, I agree with you, Chief Dahlman. That's pretty much what it says. And I think that just allows Samaritan, if they need to, as they've gone out for a request for information from other providers, to see if someone is able to meet their needs more efficiently.
Okay.
I agree. By having that in there, that should meet the state's needs for having that addressed. It may not be everything they imagined, but at least then we've addressed the issue.
Right. So if I can read this back to you, the recommendation from the ASRC is to revise the current words that are in here to remove the portion about right of first refusal, and just make the statement that at this time, the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners does not regulate prearranged non-emergency and interfacility transfers. And then we'll leave this other part here, that the hospitals and all these other special because somewhere in there we actually have to note these other specialties, and that is just direct.
I like that. It's clean.
And so the recommendation would be, how about this, that perhaps, because Chief Dahlman was the original work group, how about I wordsmith it, send it to the chairperson and to Chief Dahlman as my second reviewers, and then I will re-forward a communication to County Council and Tim Johnson as the county administrator that we've reviewed their recommendation, but we don't feel we can remove it. We would like for them to review this again and then reattach the OHA requirements.
I'm okay with that. If in the old plan, it's section 5, system elements under B, prearranged, and then C in that says the county reserves the right to grant exclusive market rights for non-emergency and interfacility ambulance service in the future at any time the board determines that is in the county's best interest.
Great. So I'll just copy that over.
Typical. Yeah, I cut and paste. Well, yeah, I just use that one. So
okay. And you probably should do a motion for this, chairperson.
Okay.
Good luck.
Let's see how. So as I would accept a motion to forward the changes as presented by Chief Dahlman and by Jenny through County Council and Board of Commissioners into the new plan. Did I mangle that enough?
outstanding work.
Jeff from PWA, make that motion as described.
And a second,
I'll do it.
Chief Tallman, thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Anyone
Aye.
opposed, just speak up. Okay, hearing no opposition, the motion passes unanimously. And
Thanks
we will
everybody.
follow up on that.
Okay, let me go back to your agenda. Stand by. Okay. And part of continuing with the BOC communications, I just want to let you know as your recorder that I have not received any communications from county council or administration on the recommended changes that we had to the ordinance. I'm not sure if the ordinance has been approved or redone or not. So I think we could wait for county council to get back to us.
Okay, so that'll be on the agenda for next meeting, I would assume.
Yep, we'll just keep it on there until we get a response.
Okay, thank you for all that work, Jenny. Moving forward, ATAB 2 committee and state updates. Rob and Jeff.
Jeff from PWA. Unfortunately, I was not able to attend their last meeting and the one prior due to other commitments. So I really don't have an update at this time from ATAB 2.
Yeah, neither have I. I haven't even seen any minutes from any of those meetings, to be honest with you. So.
Okay, thank you. ASA compliance reporting, quarterly response time reporting.
Okay, so let me scroll down for you in their packet, page 22 through 24. Let me just remind everybody that these are the reports that come from WVCC as our primary dispatch agency, and that the subcommittee members actually see the individual line items for those. I know you haven't had a lot of time to review those, and perhaps someone, Jeff, this is your information for your ambulance service area.
Yeah, so I just want to. So the reason I put this on the right side, the yellow highlighted stuff, is just kind of keep in perspective. You know, how far off are we missing these times and stuff? Well, there's a few calls in each one that arguably were reduced to code 1. Until I get resolved the current response time map, not matching up with the response time zones, and I have no issue working on. I mean, right now we're pushing to keep the response time zones where they're at and trying to arrange staffing so it meets those times. So as our staffing improves, you'll see that the times are improving. But just trying to keep it in perspective what our basic mean average time is to response times, and when we do miss it, how many minutes are we on average missing it by? There's always going to be the outliers. You know, there's one, I think the August one, you know, is like 62 minutes, something like that. So, and those are the ones we, you know, absolutely, I think the whole purpose of the review was for calls like that to see what happened with that. So, but anyway, that's what I have highlighted. I did include the Excel spreadsheets in my submission, which I know you obviously can't put here, but I did break it down by ASA zone, just the non-compliant ones. If you want to take a look at it, you know, if you have questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. Not necessarily here. If you have questions afterwards, just email me.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Did we have any report from South Lincoln Ambulance?
Yeah, so let me clarify that what you're seeing in front of you here, these pages, the information on the left-hand side is directly from WVCC. And so, sorry, I'm going from memory. I think Yachats is zone 5. So their information is on here as well. So on this one, theirs was at 100. Down here, 97 and 100, and then 100 again for Yachats. But I will let you know that Yachats always also submits their own individual report, and that is in your packet. And I could send the report, apologies, the link their Excel package we can't put in the packet because it's just too much information, but I can send that by email.
Okay, that'd be fine. Any questions on the ASA reports? Hearing none, let's go ahead and move forward. Where are we at, Jenny?
Oops, sorry. We're probably going to go all the way to the top and then all the way to the back.
Probably.
Yeah. The last thing that we have on here is PacWest Ambulance. Kudos to them, commendation. I'm going to go all the way back to the bottom. And so this was the email from Jeff regarding their most recent Oregon Health Authority audit.
Good job, PW. And I remember seeing a email from Chief Dolman that they also passed their audit. So good job on both of those.
And I believe South Lincoln Ambulance received an audit too, but I don't know what their outcome was.
And I will say in our new ASA plan, I think in January, we have a new form and a template that we send to the ASA providers and ask them to give us copies of this and so on and so forth. So before, as we move into that December, January timeframe, I'll go back and look at that and pull those up and send it to the ASA providers.
And excuse me 1 second. Hey, Chief Dahlman, did you get your letter from OHA yet saying you passed?
I have not.
Yeah, I've not either. So I'll email them and find out why.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. Let's see. Is there anything else?
Jeff, I think you pass if they don't take the keys of your ambulance away when they drive out of the parking lot. So.
Okay, review of action items.
Yep. So as your committee recorder, the items that I've noted down is I'm going to make those revisions to the working copy of the ASA plan with chairperson and chief and make sure that it's right. And then I'll create a new communication back to county council and county administration. And I'm going to make the changes to the minutes. Again, apologies, they weren't out on time. And then I'm going to send a communication to all the committee members asking for them to review them and let me know that they are fine with the minutes. And if so, then we'll accept that as approved. And I will note that in the set of minutes that we did it after the fact. And let's see. I think that's the only thing that I owe this group.
All right. Is there anything else for this group before we adjourn?
Yeah, Jeff from PWA. If Samaritan's still on the line, I just wonder if we can get an update on their RFI that they sent out, if there's been any feedback on that yet.
Nope, trying to get online. Hey, Jeff, this is Leslie. We actually only received, 2 responses. Unfortunately, folks are not equipped to help the entire system, and we were asking for help for the entire system through the RFI. So what we're doing is trying to regroup and actually break down our needs into smaller slices, meaning, what the Valley was actually asking for was help with secondary call because they have ASAs established and first call with each of the fire agencies in the area, trying to break that apart, who perhaps could help with that secondary call with the coast. As everyone here has discussed, we really need just some additional new influx of resources beyond, what we've already got for those first call scenarios for interfacility transport. So we're sort of talking to folks who answered and then trying to figure out, is there a different way we can come at this rather than how we did it initially. So that's sort of where we are. As everybody said, nobody has a lot of resources and, not a lot of folks can try to commit to an entire system. So that's what we're finding out.
Thank you, Dr. Ogden, for the update. I appreciate it.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Is there any other business for this group? If not, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
Chairman Trapp, if I could just get a quick update from about a year ago, we had Jeff from PWA. You were talking about a QRT setup or a BLS car, something along that line. Do you have any update on that? Or
I do. So there are a few of our shifts recently that have a BLS car on, which is just a basic life support ambulance. They can generally handle the very low priority calls, or some of these taking patients to another facility if they're low acuity, low maintenance, so to say. Don't have IVs running and don't need a cardiac monitor and so on, which unfortunately with the coastal hospitals, that's not necessarily reality. But we are still hiring to have a BLS car on, at least during the day part. We're trying to shoot for 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. so that they can take some of these folks that need to go to wound care or dialysis and things like that can't go by wheelchair, that have to go by stretcher. We've been successful in running the car, but we've not been successful in having it 7 days a week. So we're almost in a position where I will have that up. I just give you guys a quick staffing update. So as of next week, and I apologize if I already covered this, but as of next week, we will have 5 cars on solid 7 days a week from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. and then 4 at other times. And by the end of the year, we'll have 3 more paramedics that will have finished their FTO rotation. That will actually complete a 6th ALS car for us. And that's where we're going to kind of hold at. We have a couple more in school that by summertime should be able to allow us for 7 cars for summer. We've purposely over hiring EMTs so we can have 1 BLS car on during the day parts, including the weekends, to kind of alleviate some of the ALS units going to these less critical calls. So we're still constantly working on that. I wish I could make it happen quicker. I thought for sure we'd be able to do it a lot quicker, but just with finding personnel and finding qualified personnel has been the big challenge. But yes, that's still on the game plan. We're sitting in a little better position than we were back in May and June. So we're trying to get set up so we can start, running our trips to Portland again, to Riverbend. We've been doing that on and off so far with both PCH and North Lincoln. So we've not had to just do a flat out no every time. We've been successful in providing some of those trips, not all of them, but some of them. I have Life Flights has come to chat with me Friday, and they want to chat about what can we do to get just an ambulance and an EMT for them if they have to ground transport somebody. So we're kind of in discussions with them. And again, we're just looking at trying to think outside the box. Traditional EMS is just not the same anymore. It's kind of like a EMS version 2 now, and we're trying to adjust to it and trying to get appropriate staffing and everything else so the system works for everybody.
Jeff, is that BLS car, is that integrated at all into the 911 system?
It is there's different priority calls that come out. There's a priority 1 and 2, which are generally emergent calls. They tend to be calls that the BLS car would not be able to handle. Then we have priority 3 and 4 calls, which are anything from lift assist to someone had a bad lab value, but it's not emergent. They need to go to the ER. Some of these lower acuity calls, they could technically respond to. They can also respond to some of the higher acuity calls as another pair of hands if need be, such as a CPR call. So there's different ways we can utilize that BLS car. So there's definitely value in having that car. We recognize that value. A lot of systems throughout Oregon and the nation are actually bringing on BLS cars, where traditionally that was kind of unheard of to do. So it's a change that's coming, and we're aggressively working on that.
Thanks. My other question, which is a follow-up to what you just mentioned about the Code 99s, is I've noticed that some systems are incorporating PD in on that. Is that something that we do in Lincoln County?
To my knowledge, anytime a cardiac arrest goes out, I know the sheriff's office gets notified immediately by WVCC, and Rob, Chief Dahlman can address this, but I'm pretty sure that his agency, law enforcement, also responds. I know they've also been very good at responding to overdoses and administering Narcan as they deem fit. But most calls we've been on, generally, I've heard a tap out for the sheriff's office or Lincoln City PD. They'll at least broadcast it that fire and medical's going to a cardiac arrest call. And I do see them pretty frequently on these cardiac arrest calls.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So motion, Jeff from PWA.
And a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you, everybody, and we will see you again in January.
February.
All right, thanks, everybody.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.